The real costs of automated enforcement on Canadian drivers. Well, it's a topic that affects almost everyone on the road. Canada's automated enforcement tools like speed cameras, red light cameras, parking enforcement, and even AI traffic monitoring are pretty much everywhere these days. Now, while these tools are supposed to make our roads safer and reduce collisions, they also have a direct impact on Canadian drivers' wallets. Every year, millions of drivers get tickets. Some are totally legitimate, but others are definitely contested. Cities end up generating significant revenue from these fines, which, raises questions about fairness, equity, and what's really motivating automated enforcement. So let's take a closer look at the numbers, the policies, and what all this really means for everyday Canadians. Ticket numbers and revenue. Let's break it down. Speed cameras in Toronto alone issued over 560,000 tickets in 2024, bringing in around $40 million in fines. In cities like Montreal and Calgary, red light cameras are responsible for tens of thousands of tickets each year, and each one adds hundreds of dollars per fine to municipal coffers. And then there's parking enforcement. AI-assisted systems in places like Vancouver and Edmonton have actually increased the number of tickets issued, often catching violations that would have gone unnoticed before. Across Canada, it's estimated that municipalities collect hundreds of millions of dollars every year from automated enforcement tools, making them a pretty significant line item in city budgets. Quick update. If you want to hear my full thoughts on today's topic, I break it all down on my podcast, where I share my personal views, extra details, and stories I can't always fit in here. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out anytime. Now back to the presentation. The human impact, let's talk about that for a minute. For low-income drivers, just one ticket can be a major financial burden. And when fines pile up, they can quickly escalate to hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Mistakes do happen too. Sometimes cameras misread license plates, vehicles get misidentified, or violations are incorrectly recorded. That means a lot of drivers end up spending their own time and money contesting these fines. So, when cameras are around, drivers tend to slow down, reroute to avoid monitored areas, or sometimes even take risks by driving unsafely in zones without cameras, just to avoid getting tickets. In Toronto, there have actually been documented cases where cameras misread license plates or issued tickets to vehicles that weren't even speeding. Meanwhile, in Montreal, there have been instances where red light cameras fined drivers who had safely made turns, which, as you can imagine, led to a lot of public backlash. And sometimes, AI parking enforcement flags vehicles for violations that technically weren't offenses, so drivers end up having to appeal and go through manual reviews. All of these errors, honestly, just fuel complaints that automated enforcement is more about generating revenue than actually improving safety, even though accident rates often drop in areas that are monitored. So, provincial differences really play a big role here. Canada is not uniform in how it handles automated enforcement. In Ontario, there's a strong focus on speed cameras in school zones. Municipalities actually have the discretion to place cameras and rotate their locations. And interestingly, the revenue is reinvested in road safety programs. Alberta, on the other hand, uses both speed and red light cameras. There's also a requirement for detailed reporting to show the safety impact compared to the revenue generated. In British Columbia, automated enforcement combines speed red light and parking enforcement, along with some AI-based monitoring pilots. Privacy regulations here are, stricter, which means data retention is more limited. Quebec, especially Montreal, aggressively enforces speed and red light cameras. However, the province has faced repeated public criticism, mostly about fairness and transparency. So, how much are drivers actually paying? Well, a typical speed camera ticket can range from $30 to $150, depending on the province and, of course, how much you were over the limit. Red light camera fines are often between $100 and $500. AI-assisted parking tickets, can vary widely, but even small fines really add up when they're issued in high-traffic areas. For repeat offenders or even misidentified drivers, the total annual cost can easily reach hundreds or even thousands of dollars, which, unfortunately, disproportionately affects those with lower incomes. So here's the debate: safety versus revenue. Supporters argue, fines can actually deter unsafe driving. Accidents tend to drop in monitored zones, which, saves lives. Plus, cities often use the revenue for road safety improvements. But critics counter that automated enforcement sometimes prioritizes revenue over safety. Misidentified tickets can actually create some pretty big financial and administrative burdens. Equity concerns are real. Lower-income drivers often feel the impact much more than wealthier drivers, who can, absorb fines pretty easily. Looking ahead, predictive AI is set to shape the future of automated enforcement costs. New systems may flag likely violations before they occur, which could, potentially reduce accidents. But at the same time, this might also increase surveillance and ticket issuance. Integration with smart cities means that more connected systems could track vehicles across multiple enforcement tools. So, a single driver could end up facing fines from several different sources for even minor infractions. Provinces may introduce caps, limits, or reform measures to ensure fairness, but, change is slow. Up next, we'll explore how Toronto's speed cameras have sparked heated debate for years. Are they truly saving lives, or are they just draining drivers' wallets? Stay tuned. Automated enforcement has undoubtedly improved road safety in Canada. Accidents are down in many monitored areas, and dangerous behaviors are reduced. But honestly, it comes at a financial cost to drivers, especially those who are misidentified, repeat offenders, or low-income residents. As AI and automation expand, Canadians face a delicate balance: safety, fairness, and trust. Without transparency and oversight, these tools risk becoming more about revenue than protection. The debate is far from over, and it's a conversation every Canadian driver should be part of.